I'm very honored that Ron asked me to come up here and speak a few words. Ron and I are friends. And when I say that word friend, I don't mean it in the way that many people refer to Facebook friends, okay? One of the things that when you read the book Tenacity, you will discover something that is very important about Ron, and that is his loyalty, that is his ability to be a friend. And quite honestly, I can tell you that I'm a great believer in legacy. The legacy that we leave behind us from every one of our encounters with another human being is who we are and how we will be remembered. Well, Ron Corey, I pronounced it properly, by the way, Corey. Ron, I did, I'm sorry. Ron Corey is one of those people that, sometimes you journey through life. It may last 80 years, but it flies by in an instant. And Ron is an individual who when I say I'm proud to be his friend, I mean it. Because friendship is one of those very difficult relationships to quantify. But I can tell you this, that in the years that I have lived, and I'm not going to tell you my age, I'll let you guess that, there are very few people that I would trust with my life. Ron Corey is one of them. The fact that this book came out is a testament to his life. It's a testament to what he has accomplished, and the reason that it will be a success is because it is truth. It is the story of a man whose courage, whose commitment, and whose ability to grab life the way it should be grabbed has resulted in a successful life, and one that is committed to justice, to integrity, to honor. And I got to tell you, I'm proud to be his friend. When you read this book, you will be enthralled with a story that would make a tremendous movie, because it is true, and it is a story about courage. It's a story of a man who did not allow the government, who did not allow corruption, who fought for justice. Anybody here love Western movies? Well, I got to tell you, he's the sheriff. He's the white hat in this story. And he deserves this night. I am so happy to see so many friends, so many faces, so many people. The fact that you are in this room tonight shows the respect that we have for a man that we all love. Congratulations, Ron.
I had a very good friend of mine, Thomas Bell, who was an attorney in town, who had, they thought he was Howard Hughes' bagman, actually, back in the days when you used to do these things to make sure things happened. Anyway, one day at the country club, there was an arbor outside on the patio with a bunch of chairs, and I used to be sort of a antagonistic sort of guy to Tom. And Tom looked around at one point because somebody said, "What's going on the patio?" And somebody on the other side of the room said, "They're hanging Woody." And Tom looked over his shoulder, took a sip out of his martini and said, "Not enough chairs." And that's the problem we're facing tonight right here. There's not enough chairs. Anyway, to start with this, we're all, I guess, pleased to be here. I think all of us are going to bear witness to Ron's new adventures as an author and the launching of his new book, Tenacity. Because all of you have an opportunity to get the book and have an opportunity to read it, you'll probably end up with a question like I had at the end: why can't this guy keep a job? I mean, he keeps moving around from one thing to the other. The guy never has a job. I didn't know him in his formative years in Brooklyn, and I didn't know him in his Marine Corps service. I met him at a hearing for the Public Service Commission where he was applying to own a limousine company, and I looked at him like, are you aware of what you're up against here? And he didn't care. But for 20 years or more, no new operating authority had been issued in the state of Nevada to operate a limousine or a taxi or any other form of public conveyance. Partially because you could have all the money in the world, the best business plan in the world, but without that certificate, you could not operate. And the forces to be, the families that owned some of the more entrenched operations, were not about to let competition come in. It didn't in any way dissuade Ron. He went out with a genius plan where he was going to tape surreptitiously the operations of his objectors, went to their various places and filmed under the cover of darkness their operations. And he was able to show and demonstrate to the commission that not only could he not hurt them, they had unused capacity, but when they were busy, they couldn't even handle the business that was there. And to everyone's surprise, Ron was issued an operating authority, and therefore came presidential limousines. In order to make sure his limousines were clean and had gas in it, he, as a side deal, bought a gas station and a car wash. But he does those kind of things. In his book, you'll see some information about the city of Henderson and his ongoing love affair with the district attorney and the police force. I won't spend a lot of time on that one. I'll let you get it from the book. But I don't want you to think that everything this guy, because all of these businesses, by the way, he ultimately has sold for a fair return on his investment. But not everything he ever came up with was a great idea. And it would be wrong of me to let you all think that everything Ron touched was gold. I'll give you one example, maybe two. Ron decided that the people of Las Vegas were not drinking quality water, whether it be bottled or tapped. It just wasn't like his home water from Brooklyn's beautiful tap water was the best water in the world. Yeah. And there is some scientific proof that this is correct because the water comes from the Catskill Mountains. It doesn't have a lot of limestone, doesn't have a lot of calcium, and therefore it has a sweeter taste. So Ron's idea was to bottle that water, and ship it out here and sell it. It kind of conjures up a picture of 6 guys in a garage with a garden hose. I think he found out pretty quickly that the Department of Health and the cost of shipping it out here might have cost him more than it was worth, and so he abandoned that particular project. My personal favorite is his, I don't know how this came up in his mind, but one day he woke up with his partner Dan and said, you know what this town needs? A bungee jumping tower. Nowhere around, nobody around here can go bungee jumping. And so he had a piece of property and he built a bungee jumping tower, and lo and behold, nobody came. To put it kindly, the citizens of Las Vegas were not jumping at the opportunity to get on his bungee jumping apparatus, and eventually it sort of fell flat. Now, to be serious for a moment, though, Ron saved his best act of tenacity for his personal health. He was diagnosed with cancer. It wasn't just any kind of cancer. It was esophageal cancer, very deadly form of it. He went to his doctors and they gave him several options, one of which, the most severe of which, would give him the best chance to live, but it entailed sort of gutting his entire esophagus out and stitching his stomach up to his throat in round. I mean, that's not scientifically and medically correct, but you get the idea. They told him at that time that he would have a very difficult time both through the surgery and with the possible rehabilitation. He almost died more than once, and to this day, because of his perseverance, he's here with us. And if you ever have to take him out to lunch, take him to a buffet, it's cheap, he's in and out. And that guy never eats much of anything. But even now, he's feeding himself 3 or 4 times a day, very small meals. And to his credit, after he became healthy and recovered from that, he got involved in the automotive business, was a very successful dealer in town, sold that too, had nothing to do, decided to write a book. And that's what brings us to today. Ron only wanted a seat at the table. That's all he ever asked for, a fair chance to compete, to do what has to be done to be successful. And for those of you that, well, speaking of tables, he's had all his time on his hands, so don't ever let him get you on a ping pong table, a pool table, a poker table, or any other form of table, because that's what he spends his time doing now in addition to being an author. And I would just like to say that if his new book, Tenacity, is not a #1 bestseller, it's a travesty. So thank you all. Ron, my friend.
Before I get in praising Ron, just for your information, there's somebody in this room who's the #1 talk show host in America, wrote the best book in America, has a #1 TV show. Does anybody know who that person is? Wayne Allen Root. Good to have you here, Wayne. What a good guy. Hey, I've been a friend for Ron's for a long time. Just seems like forever. And the guy is so smooth, you know. I always ask him, the first question is, Ron, what are you doing to make money now? He's always got something else going. He's the most exciting guy in the world. And I like to follow him. We started a bank together years ago. Ron was very smart about that. I got in the limousine business. He got in the limousine business. I lost money. He made money. 9/11 was the worst thing that happened to limousine businesses. I want you to know that. I was there. But Ron, the side that you don't know about Ron sometimes is, why would Ron hang around a political guy? Why would that be interesting to him? Because Ron cares about what's happened in the state of Nevada. He'll come over to North Las Vegas and bring Randy and some of these guys, and they always got big ideas for me. When you've been over there before, these guys care about what's going on in the state, and they want to make sure I in North Las Vegas am getting all the support I need to make sure that North Las Vegas doesn't go under and everybody here loses money because of what I've done, you know, here. But Ron has been a special friend for many, many years. I would probably, being a politician, I'd probably not buy this book, you know, because the first thing you do when you're a politician, you look at a book and you go to the back page, see if your name's in it. Well, my name's not in this book, Wayne. So, but if you're not worried about a politician's name in a book, this is a great read. This is a good book. But the thing I'm most excited about, the first 20 years have been exciting. The book's exciting, but I'm ready for the second book. Who knows what this guy will do in the next 20 years? Ron, you've got a great fan base here. You've got great people who love you. You've been over to Safe Nest and helped the battered women over there. We went over and did a lot of that stuff like that. A lot of stuff Ron does never makes it into a lot of your conversations, but Ron invests his money in people. He cares about people. I think that probably one of the sweetest friendships that you'll ever have in your life is if you're able to call Ron Corey your friend. Thank you very much.
I've never been called Mr. Hollywood before, but I guess I'll take it, as long as you don't hold it against me. In my line of work, one of the things you hear the most often is, oh, you've got to meet so-and-so, he's got a great story, or will you meet this guy? It would make a great movie, this story. And so I guess it's 3 years ago, my buddy Brian, who was working with Ron and advising him on the book, said, you got to meet this guy, he's got a great story. So I've known Brian, I trust his word, and I came out and met with Ron and immediately impressed with him about his energy and his personality and his drive and his tenacity. And as he started telling me his story, no one had to tell me this would make a great movie. I said, this would make a great movie. It's got everything we want. The little guy going up against the system, justice prevailing in the end, and a guy who will not stop until he gets what he wants. And I've begun sharing this his story around some of my contacts in Hollywood, and a lot of people agree with me. So nothing concrete just yet, but I think it's a very real possibility that we'll get this going in the very near future as a feature film. So that's very exciting news. And in that vein, there's only one guy in the room tonight who's more Mr. Hollywood than me. It's my real privilege to introduce a gentleman I've never had a chance to meet before tonight, but I've admired his work, as I'm sure all of you have, for a long, long time. He's not only been in some of the best movies ever made. My personal opinion, He's the best thing about those best movies that were ever made. I really mean that. Incredibly talented actor, a great guy, and most recently, as you know, did the audio version of the book. Please welcome Michael Madsen.
You know, failure is not an option. Yeah. Well, you know, little did I know that my own life was going to reflect that since I read Ron's wonderful book. I used to think I was a pretty tough guy, and I guess maybe I am in some ways, but being tough is not easy. In fact, it's more difficult than you might realize. But my home in Malibu, California, burned to the ground recently. I've lived there 25 years in Malibu with my 6 wonderful children and my wife. And losing that house was something that I really honestly could never imagine, the horror and the pain and the sadness of it. But, you know, I started thinking about Ron when I was crying and laying on the floor like an idiot and crying and praying and doing whatever I could to come up with some kind of a valid reason why something like that could happen. Things you take for granted every single day, just the smallest little things that, you know, something on the counter in the bathroom or something in the floor, something very simple that you would never imagine that you would miss or lose, and it's gone. It's gone, man, and that's it. It's over. And I was really at the end. I've been through a lot of stuff, and a lot of things I lived through, and a lot of things I sometimes wonder how I did live through it. But I met Ron, you know, I hadn't read the book, and I kind of prided myself on stuff like that. When I did voiceover things, I didn't really want to know what it was about until I started actually doing it. And his whole story kind of came as I read it, like in the booth. And it became more and more interesting to me and more fascinating. And I realized that he was a tough guy, a tough monkey, just maybe more than me, which says a lot. And look at him, he's back there smiling. As I was saying, my house burned up, and lost everything that it meant anything to me in the whole world. And I couldn't figure out how to deal with it. And I actually kind of figured it was the end. I figured, okay, that's it. You're done, Michael, and that's it. And honestly, I was finished. And my kids are going to be fine. My wife will be fine. Everybody will be all right. But they didn't need me around anymore. And I started thinking about Ron for some weird reason. And, you know, failure is not an option. And, you know, it wasn't. I realized it wasn't an option for me. I didn't want to die. I didn't want to be dead. I didn't want to be croaked off somewhere. And I had something left to do with myself and my life. And you know, it was a silly book. And I thought, wow, you know, that son of a bun, you know, he taught me something. You taught me something there, Ron. Yeah, Michael Madsen. You taught me something, pal. Okay. A lot of people not be able to ever do. And he kept me alive, my friend. Not only that, but funny and oddly enough, right when all this stuff was happening and all these terrible, horrible things, excuse my language, I'm sure there's a few of you in here who say the same thing. Who calls me? Him. Ron calls out of the blue. I get a call from somebody he was working with. Asked me, did I want to come to the party where they're going to reveal the book? And I thought, oh, Jesus Christ, that's the book I read. Yeah, that's Ron's book. That's Tenacity. They asked me to come here to be a guest at the revealing of the book, and I thought, well, how ironic is that? I'm here at the death door of my life and everything I've ever been or ever believed in, and who's going to call me out to Vegas? Ron Corey. So it was pretty good timing there, buddy. And obviously I said, yeah, sure. And he did a few things to make that happen. And I'm here, I'm living, I'm breathing because of you, Ron. I know a lot of folks have been up here saying all kinds of nice things about Ron, and he deserves every bit of it. I'm a person who's alive and walking around and well and being. My kids are going to be okay, and I guess my life's going to be fine. Anyway, a lot of folks have said hello to me earlier this evening, and I thank you so much. I didn't expect anything like that. I figured I'd be a fly on the wall somewhere in here, but everybody's been very super nice to me, and I thank you, Mitch. God bless you, all of you, and Ron, God, thank you for your book, and thanks for letting me read the damn thing.
I'm going to stand here because I need to read some notes for fear of missing a point that has to be made. Thank you, Wayne. Great job managing these ceremonies. Michael, kind words. Thank you so much. Bob Burris, Mayor Lee, Woody, and Randy. I warned you, this wasn't supposed to be a roast. Thanks to all of you for joining me to celebrate the launch of this book tonight. Being surrounded by so many friends is a truly humbling experience. As you could imagine, to have nearly 200 friends in one room and want to speak with each one of you is physically impossible, and I hope I don't offend anyone by not spending enough face time with you, but I've really tried. I want to acknowledge some of our elected guests who are here tonight. Of course, Mayor John Lee, great words, thank you so much for your friendship. Councilman Steve Soroka, thank you for coming. Judge Harmony Letizia, Judge Don Mosley are here as well. Thank you all for coming. Friends are here for this evening's event from out of town. 4 friends, particularly if you read the book, that I grew up with in Brooklyn, have traveled to be here. If you've already read it, you'll recall the names of Shia, Bush, Kershey, and Bastani. Friends are here from Northern and Southern California, New York, New Jersey, and Florida. 2 people cannot be here tonight and must be mentioned. A lifelong friend who helped make this book a reality as an editor for me and was a lifelong friend since I was 5 years old. Tom Kennedy passed away unexpectedly last November, and it just wouldn't feel right going forward tonight and not acknowledging him. And of course, my wife Joan passed away 9 years ago and would have been so proud of the 3 great children we have, Angela, Joey, and Tom, the adults that they've become, and the 5 grandsons they have blessed us with. Thank you, Angela. You know, my book is about some of the events in my life that I thought deserved to be told. It's about friends, relationships, businesses, and my awesome partners. Many people are lucky to have one good business partner in their entire career. I've been blessed with several. The story my book describes would only be possible thanks to the camaraderie and partnership of those certain people whose paths fortuitously crossed with mine. Dan Hughes, my buddy from the Marine Corps, who came to Las Vegas with me in 1973, and with whom we together started many great businesses. Thanks for sharing an amazing life with me, buddy. And thanks for being here tonight. My never-ending gratitude to Don Tamburo, who by his friendship and generosity helped me through my illness and then brought me into the automobile business, and together we accomplished so much, and I learned so much from this man. Don, thank you for coming tonight. To my brother Artie, who partnered with us, Dan and I, at the Castaways Casino. To Tom and Phil Boakley, who along with Steve Miller and Andre Agassi have enabled me to be in the children's early education business. To my pal, Dr. Paul Smith, who helped me through my cancer every day in the hospital for a month and a half. 13 years ago in California, and with whom Dan and I were partners with Joe Esposito and Dr. Chris Bunker, also here tonight, have dabbled in many business ventures with us. I have to thank Mr. Fred Domaney. As the book describes, when I couldn't find a job on the Las Vegas Strip to earn more money, Fred bought the Tropicana Hotel and gave me that job dealing there in the 1970s, enabling me to pursue those entrepreneurial dreams. If you read the book, I was a dealer and a realtor, and I wanted to buy a bar, and Dan wanted to do it with me, and we didn't have the money. Jose Martinez is here tonight. I dealt with him at the Tropicana, and he knew me well enough to loan me $35,000, and we bought the Suburban Lounge. Thank you, Jose. To Larry and Darrell Altowitz here tonight, asking me to help them grow Walker Furniture throughout the valley. My office manager and longtime assistant, Jennifer Medeiros, without whose loyalty and dedication I could not get through a day. Thanks to my wonderful girlfriend, Stephanie Zimmerman. She helps me see the bright side of every life event and who puts a smile on my face every day. As you can see, the list of people who influenced this life story, I could go on and on for an hour and still leave out people, so forgive me for not mentioning everyone. I've been so lucky to have friends like all of you. The publication of this book is the culmination of what I hope you will find to be a story worth telling. It is an expression of love and appreciation for the amazing friends that have filled my life and are here tonight. Please mingle and enjoy yourselves. The speeches are over. I hope you enjoy reading or listening to the audio version that Mike Madsen so incredibly told. And know that I love each and every one of you. And now that I'm out of the bar business, one more time, the drinks are on me. Thank you.